Hi, welcome back to Film Job. I'm Karen Kaufman Wilson, your host, and I'm here with Andrew Roy, who has a ton of questions for me about the business.
What do you find to be the most difficult thing about producing, if you could figure out one thing?
I think the most difficult thing about producing is that people don't recognize that this is really a business. Mm-hmm. And now the business is looking at being more interested in making Superman 6 and try to make $200 million worldwide than making a little small movie, even though it might
be like Juno.
It may be like Knocked Up, where you all of a sudden it's making a ton of money and it didn't cost a lot to produce. But for the most part, studios are really interested in, a big actor, an action movie, or something that they know is going to drive that young male 18 to 24 to the audience,
that's why
to the studios.
That's why I've seen a lot of trilogies and sequels and
and I want No Country of Old Men, and I want Away from Her,
blood.
and all the. I love those kinds of movies, and that's what I'd like to see more of. But this is a business, and so they're really interested in how to get, no different than getting eyeballs to a website. I want to get you in that chair in the theaters. So what seems to be working is Superman 6.
Yeah. Well, there's an audience for everything. Whereas, there's people who want the art house, like No Country for Old Men, Little Miss Sunshine, little small indies, and there's people who want just to shut their brains off and see Transformers 8. And then there's also, I think, people that want to see movies like Bratz. I think there was, but just there's audiences for everything. But I don't know where I was going with that. But
so I'm saying I think the tough thing about producing is if your taste isn't towards Transformers or something along that line, or you don't have the ability to get that kind of materials, get to that kind of actor, then it's a real uphill climb. And you have to be passionate about that project, because it's only you out there waving it in front of buyers saying, please, please, please look at this. This is a movie. This is a movie. And there's been a ton of projects that I really liked and thought would be great movies that didn't see the light of day. And then there's some projects where I read that script and said I don't get it, and then ends up being a huge hit.
And since I'll be done with Disney around the end of June, I've been sending out my resumes and trying to meet people as much as possible. Every day I send out my resume to someone different, whether emailing, doing follow-up calls, doing follow-up emails, just trying to make sure that I get out there. What are some tips that you would give, for making my resumes pop out, or,
One of the things that I found that was a big mistake that applicants did with me was they assume that highlighting their administrative skills wasn't something I was looking for. And the truth of the matter is, I need to know, if I'm hiring you as my assistant, that you can answer the phone, you can fax, you can do all those basic stuff, and that you don't think you're above it. And you're willing to do that, yet you also have some skill sets like reading scripts, doing coverage, that you join certain kind of groups, and that you have a pretty substantial contact base as much as you can at that point. So I think that the thing that people really make a mistake on their resume is they try to build themselves up to be a little bit more than what they are early in their career.
Yeah, trying to put their chest out and try to...
Right. I'm hesitant to hire you beneath me if you've worked as a vice president at a website, because I'm thinking, well, you're not going to want to do some things I'm going to ask you to do. Now, you tell me you were an assistant to the vice president at a website, I might say, oh, okay, well, what did you guys do? What was the content like? How did you find material? Did you ever, contribute to the content? So it makes it a lot easier if I know that you're willing to do some of the low-level stuff I'm going to ask you to do.
Because then you don't want to come off as being above all the low stuff.
Exactly.
But just make sure to say, proficient in SAP and, Microsoft Excel and Word and...
Can answer phones, can,
get coffee.
Right, can answer phones, can, keep deadlines, can keep me on track. The more you can demonstrate that you've done those things for someone before, I'm more apt to hire you. Now, I always personally like to hire really ambitious people. I specifically like hiring people who failed. because then they have something to prove.
Exactly.
I really like hiring a man that's failed because they're really great. One of my last assistants had been a manager of a group, and the group ended up blowing up and firing him. And they're pretty well known, so I won't say their name. But I was tickled pink to hire him because I knew he had so much to prove. Well, bless his soul, he ended up, always feeling like he had to go above me, so that didn't really quite work out.
Yeah, it's not too good.
But nevertheless, I think that's the kind of person that I like hiring.
I think I have the failed department covered pretty well.
Good.
So,
yeah. There's nothing wrong with failure.
Because at least you tried. It's
right.
a whole
I want to know you'll try, and I want to know you can bounce back and go at it again. Because I failed a bunch of times.
Yeah, it's the whole Abe Lincoln mentality.
Exactly.